On another extra long episode of the Bangkok Podcast, we take a cue from a listener suggestion and talk about what smartphone apps we simply cannot live without as we go about our daily lives in Bangkok.
Plus, you'll find out why I suck at my job. Seriously, man. But at least it's a funny story.
From us to you, here's episode 2.38 of the Bangkok Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian expat who came to Thailand on a vacation in 2001, and you know what? I ain't never left yet.
And I am Evo Terra, an American expat living full-time in Bangkok since the beginning of 2016. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to the Big Mango.
So we recently got a request from a loyal listener about the best apps to use during her visit to Bangkok. But before we get there, I just want to say thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon.
I am pretty stoked, man. We slammed out that Patreon page. You and I had been talking about it for months at a time, but we just are both too damn busy, I guess, to get things done. But
lazy.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. But we put it up there, and amazingly, just hours after the last episode go live, people showed up. I would love to say in droves. What's smaller than a drove? A drive?
A drivel?
Dribble?
Dribble?
Whatever the number happens to be. But people started showing up and pledging their support. So awesome. Gentlemen, that it's been gentlemen thus far, thank you. Ladies, I know you're just waiting to jump in and support us on Patreon, but thanks for doing so. Do you want to tell them a little bit about why we're taking money from them, Greg?
Well, we have been putting out the show for, let's see, this is episode 38 now. It does take a lot of time to put this together, a lot of planning, recording and editing, and that's just the sexy parts. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we do to put this out into the interwebs. And all of this takes time and effort, and the money that our fans will give to us will help us buy new equipment. It'll help pay for website hosting and MP3 hosting and all the other little goodies that go with putting a little radio show out into the world. So any little bit helps. $1 a month, $5 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever you can afford. We appreciate anything at all.
Yes, very, very much, guys. Thanks. And Patreon makes it very simple. Just go to patreon.com/Bangkok Podcast, all one word. Patreon.com/Bangkok Podcast and get signed up. They'll take care of all of it. But enough begging. Should we actually do the program?
We should get right into it. Now, like I said, the topic of this week's show was apps to use in Bangkok. That was sent to us by Amy. Now, her message specifically said, what apps do you use that are especially useful as expats in Bangkok? I'm visiting for the first time in 9 years, parentheses, 2 exclamation marks, close parentheses, next month, and I know the city is going to be very different than when I lived there. Anything I can use to make it easier?
Yes, excellent question, Amy. And yeah, Greg and I have been batting this around back and forth. We've discussed this on a number of occasions, not necessarily doing an entire show, but when we started thinking about it and tossing out some ideas, lo and behold, lots of ideas for apps came. Apparently we do live in 2017 or 2560, depending on how you count, and mobile apps on phones are pretty popular. Now, I'm an iPhone user, so all of my apps will be iPhone, iOS specific. What's the other one? There's another one besides iPhone and... Oh, that's right, Android. I'm sorry. I've just got to stoke...
A thousand Android users throw their phones across the room.
Just got to stoke the fires, man. Just got to stoke the fire. So what I did, Greg, and I think you went ahead and did the same thing, is rather than just start talking about these at random, I broke them out into several categories. Were you able to do something similar?
Yeah, I've got to put them in categories too. And the interesting thing here is that I don't know what you're about to say, and you don't know what I'm about to say. So we might have some overlap, but we might have some interesting things here. So why don't you go first?
Yeah, I think I will begin. So we're going to start this, or I'm going to start this, with probably the single most useful reason to have an app when you come to Bangkok. Now, Amy, you lived here 9 years ago. And yes, I'm sure the city has changed much since then. Greg was halfway through his tenure at that time, but most things are still the same. However, there's a lot of things that are different. So when it comes to getting around, you're going to likely rely on an application to do that. And for me, still, the number one app that I use to get around the city remains Google Maps.
Google Maps?
It just works most of the time. Now, I will tell you this. Now that I'm driving around on a motorbike, I have my headphones in, and the woman from Google Maps talks to me, and she gives me directions. In America, she tells me in 500, well, she says in 500 yards, turn right on Washington Street. In Thailand, she says in 500 meters, turn right on, and then turn left on, and she doesn't even try to pronounce the words of the streets. She just has given up. Yeah.
When I'm driving, it just says turn left, and 500 meters, turn left.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. But if you go somewhere else where there's actually a word, she'll actually try to pronounce that word, but she is
and
not.
Usually just garbles it up. But it's there are specific things about Thailand that make it sort of difficult for AI to parse the language. So it certainly is a useful app. I use it when I'm biking.
Yep.
I use it when I'm driving. Sometimes I even use it when I'm walking.
I use it walking quite a lot.
In. Yeah, and the recent update has given a lot of detail to like back soys and alleys and stuff like that. So it's a really, really helpful app for navigating the city.
I'm impressed how accurate it is. It's not perfect, but it's not perfect anywhere, so no big deal. Beyond getting around with Google Maps, my other two are when you need to take somebody else and let them do the driving, and that's either Uber or Grab. Those are my choices.
Yeah. For me, it's Uber all the way. I have my problems with Grab. I love the Grab app. I think it's a superb piece of software, but the problem, as with anything, is if the product is crappy, it doesn't matter how good the delivery system is. And in this case, the product is the Thai taxis, which I have no love for. So I'm all about Uber. Say what you will about suddenly has no CEO and they don't behave very well for $1 billion company. But when it comes to driving safely and not refusing fares and going where you want them to go, they're the tops. And I literally 10 minutes ago, my mother-in-law had to use Uber, and I called a car and sent it to where she was, picked her up.
Nice.
And she didn't have to do anything. So I know she's going to get to where she's going safely. And I can never always say that about a taxi driver. I'm not sure if they're going to drive nuts or get lost or whatever. But
there are a host of other apps that are available, but I simply don't use them. Between Uber and Grab, I'm wherever I need to be if somebody else is driving, and with Google Maps, it's a good enough job to get me from A to B. Did you have anything else listed on your list for getting around?
Yeah, when you do have to use a taxi, there's a really good app called DLT Check-In. And I don't know all the details behind it. I've never actually used it. Like I say, I don't use taxis a lot, but I have it on my phone.
I'm assuming that the DLT stands for the Department of Land Transportation, yes?
It does indeed. And when you open it up, it says, well, okay, first of all, it says can't connect to server, so that's awesome. But apparently it's an app that lets you report bad taxi behavior. So if it's working, I'm just opening up on my phone here, can't connect to server. Okay, not a good first impression, Department of Land Transport, but maybe the next update will get it working. But anyway, if there's a taxi out there that's behaving badly, you can report their license plate or their tag number, and appropriate measures will be taken. So that's a good backup plan to have if it works.
Yeah. Well, you hope appropriate measures will be taken. The reality is it could just go into a round file somewhere on the other, on the end of that. Right. So that's getting around. Going once, twice, done.
Done. Our next category is getting food. Another very important thing in Bangkok, especially for me, maybe more so for you.
Yeah.
You know what? I looked through my phone. I don't have anything on my phone for food.
What?
Yeah.
How is that possible? I order at least once or twice a week from Food Panda.
Is that an app?
Yeah.
I know it's a company, but I didn't know they had an app.
A food company and an app, food delivery service. Food Panda, it lists the vast majority of the restaurants in Bangkok. You tell it what your location is, or it's smart enough to know your location, and you can order from these places that will deliver to you automatically. You're not flipping through menus of a restaurant and then going to the app. No, it's all self-contained. Very nice. If you don't want to leave your condo, which many of us in Bangkok don't want to leave our condos for whatever reason, Food Panda is the superior app, I think, when it comes to having food brought to you. It's all done, all individualized, personalized, so that it knows where you are, it knows your credit card, it stores it, it knows your information, and it's great. I love it. Little motorcycle shows up 20, 30 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever, later, but it's all self-contained in the app. It's lovely. I love it.
Yeah, Food Panda is like the standard food delivery service in Bangkok, but I've never used the app, and I don't know, I just have always found that I'm never too far away from from some good street food, or I got enough in my fridge to make a meal. I'm like Homer in that episode of The Simpsons where he makes a meal with some chives and some milk and a frozen pie shell or something.
I understand. Now, also along with that, Uber Eats has come out. So it's the same thing. It's the same company, Uber, but instead of cars that drive you to pick you up and take you someplace, it's typically motorbike taxis, although I've seen cars as well. Motorbike taxis that will go pick up your food at these various restaurants. So it's very much like Food Panda, but it's wrapped up inside of the Uber interface. And actually, it's a separate app. It's called Uber Eats. So download that. It works pretty well. The other two that I have listed are for when you want to leave the house. So number one, to find a restaurant nearby that will give you a smoking discount, because we're nothing if we're not cheap, even though we live in Thailand. It's called Eatigo. Eat, E-A-T, the letter I-G-O.
I've heard of this one. What is it?
It is very cool. I used it tonight, as a matter of fact. Pull up the app. It knows where you're at, and you say what kind of food you're looking for, and it says, all right, we found 17 sushi places nearby, and this one is offering a 50% discount if you come in the next 30 minutes.
Damn, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's almost like Hotels Tonight, that concept, except food right now. That's what they could have called it. Food right now, and you get to pick your restaurant. It shows you exactly what the discount is going to be. You book your reservations, you go in, and it's all done on the app once again, and you tell them you're with Eatigo, and they sit you down, and I've used it 2 or 3 times in Thailand, and never once has there been a problem with the check. It always comes out, and it's half off or 30% or whatever was set up when I did it. So it's a great way to find a new place to eat, and you get a discount. What a deal.
That sounds pretty cool. I just put my fat little thumb on my fingerprint sensor, and I am downloading that app as we speak.
Yeah, and then the standby for eating is still, don't worry about Yelp, because Yelp just doesn't work in this town. I mean, it's there. There are some applications. There are some, not applications. There are some reviews inside of Yelp, but it's just not here. TripAdvisor remains the standard for many things in Thailand, and one of them is restaurants. So you'll find, if you're looking for reviews of restaurants, you'll find more reviews in TripAdvisor than anywhere else.
Okay, good to know. What's the next category?
News. In the event you want to keep up with news back home, you know how to do that. But when you are like us and you live in a foreign country, or you're visiting for a long time, you might want to check on the local news where you happen to live. I have 2 suggestions for you inside of news. That first one is, I hate to be a shill for Google here, but I'm going to do it again. Google News works really well. You can personalize it and tell it you're in Thailand, and it will start giving you local information from Bangkok Post, from Kasat English, and the other places. So you'll get your breaking news, if you will, through the Google News app. That's one good way. That's one good way. And the second one that I use probably more, but it's less about breaking news and more about keeping up with more the trendy things that are happening, is the Reddit app. And I subscribe to the Thailand subreddit forum.
Interesting. I purposely have not put Reddit on my phone because I know that I will just devote all my free time to browsing Reddit. Yeah. So I haven't put that on my phone yet. Yeah. But I've heard a lot about it too, and I hear it's a great app. Yeah,
it's cool, and it's it's Reddit subculture, so you get Redditors, but that's fine. There's a certain ilk amongst them, but if you're looking for, hey, what's happening this weekend or other interesting events, and even some other news that you might have missed on the Google News thread, they tend to bubble up on that Reddit, especially in the R Thailand forum.
5 points for using ilk.
Ooh, thanks, man. Next.
For me, I'm all about Twitter. I'm a huge Twitter guy. I check Twitter like 500 times a day.
Yeah.
And I also follow Kasat English, the Bangkok Post. I know a lot of people in North America. Twitter is not as huge in North America as it is, or at least was, in Asia. But for me, I use it all the time. And it is first of all, it's a great way for finding out. If you follow the right people, it gives you great broad exposure to what's going on all over around the world, again, depending on who you follow. But not only that, sometimes in Thailand being Thailand, there are issues. Maybe a coup, maybe a violent protest or a bomb.
For example.
Yeah. And in those cases, Twitter is indispensable for giving you direct, immediate, like on-the-ground information on what's happening where. So Twitter is great normally, but in a crisis, it's just invaluable.
And that's why Twitter became so popular, is when Sully landed the plane in the Hudson River. I mean, that's Twitter's moment. all of the photos you saw on that from 2007, I think that was when that happened. They were all shared through Twitter. I mean, that was the first place it went out, and it beat the standard news outlets from being to air. And right after that, you started seeing all, and I mean all, of the news outlets in North America start putting up their Twitter codes on their lower third, and even running Twitter feeds throughout. So yeah, it remains a good source. I don't use it as much now, but I know that you're hot and heavy into the Twitter, and it seems to be working out well for you. So yeah, if you're a Twitterer, you'll be happy to know what's happening here. But as you said, you got to follow the right accounts, and so just go to Greg's account, BKK Greg, and follow everybody he follows. That'll fix it. Simple.
There you go. Done.
Easy way to do things. Did you have anything else under news?
Really quick, I also use Flipboard to give me sort of a general, the CNNs, the Al Jazeeras, the ABCs, and things like that.
Right.
Find out what they're writing. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. What about in the communication section, where you're actually communicating with other people? One thing that I'm sure Amy already knows this, although I don't know, 9 years ago it may not have existed, but Thailand has one social media network that rules them all, and it's Line.
Line, yeah. I got Line on my computer. Actually, just recently I moved it to my most used position on my iPhone home screen.
Yeah. So Line is the Facebook of many other places. Facebook is still used here. I mean, that's also on my list of communication tools. Facebook is popular, but if you want to communicate with another person who's Thai specifically, they have a Line account, and they will give you their Line ID first. That is the standard method of communicating with Thai nationals, or even people like us who've lived here for a long time. It's just easier to do it online, and you know what if Line buzzes, it's somebody buzzing you in Thailand. It's not your second cousin who still lives in Poughkeepsie. No, they're not online. It's very, very localized.
There's a lot of companies in Thailand, too, small companies that only use Line. They have no shops, they have no website, they just have a Line account, and they take pictures and they send them to you, and they create relationships with you, and they deliver things through Line. Mm-hmm. There's even an app called Line Man where you can arrange deliveries. So yeah, it's a huge, huge social network here, and I use it multiple times a day.
Yeah, it's hard to describe Line until you actually get in and use it. That's one of the reasons why we, the Bangkok Podcast, have our own Line account, which there's a link to it in the show notes, and so you can actually get the show in Line. Line wasn't designed to distribute audio files, but screw it. I'm forcing it in. Eventually, they'll come around to my way of thinking, not. But whatever, it's still fun to do.
Yeah, on my phone, I have them all. I have Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
I have iPhone Messages, Apple Messages. Mm-hmm. I have WhatsApp. Mm-hmm. I have Line. Mm-hmm. I have Snapchat. Those last few the Snapchat is hardly ever used. But
right.
I do have certain friends that are more comfortable with one or two of the other ones. And, when those friends contact me, it's through WhatsApp, or it's through Facebook Messenger or something like that. So all of those, I think, are very popular in Thailand, but nothing beats Line.
Yeah, definitely. Try and be technology or communication agnostic. That's my philosophy. So as Greg has, I have all of those too. And when somebody says, how can I contact you? I say, how do you want to contact me? Because
yes, what I say too.
If I don't have that app, I'll get it, because that means you know something I don't, and that can't happen. So if you want to put to me on I don't know, Telegram, fine. I'll fire the Telegram up. It'll show up on me there. But I'm there. Be anywhere you want to be.
Whatever blows your hair back, friendo. I'm here for you.
That's entertainment time, Greg. Can you entertain me with some things on your mobile device?
Well, much like Robbie Williams, let me entertain you. I went through my phone, and I've got Apple Music. I subscribe to Apple Music for the unlimited music things.
Does it work in Thailand?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got licensing rights to do that. On my list is Spotify, which up until a few weeks ago didn't work in Thailand.
But they are coming to Thailand soon,
and
right?
now it works. So it
does work.
Yeah, they've changed their licensing now that there is no problem. I'm able to stream from my phone and fling it to my Chromecast on my TV without having to fire up a VPN, which I'll get to in a little bit. So yeah, Spotify works. Yay!
I was thinking about switching over, but like I said, Apple's got its skinny, bony hands so firmly grasped around my neck. I think I'll just sit happily here in this warm ecosystem of of Cupertino and let the blood drain out of me into the bathtub. Weird, grotesque metaphor, but you get where I'm coming from. The only real communicate or entertainment app I have on my phone that I look at regularly is, I don't even know how you say it, Imgur, Imgur.
Imgur, right? Yeah.
Imgur, yeah. It's just basically a meme sharing platform, a photo sharing platform, a GIF sharing platform, arranged into categories, and I look at it every night before bed. There's some good, interesting, funny, amusing stuff on there. So that's really what I do for communication on my phone.
So you have for entertainment on your phone. So you have the Imgur app, but you don't have Reddit. Weird. That's a little strange because
I'm just dipping my toe in the pool. I'm not going to jump all the way in.
That one. Well, one of the things that I was pleasantly pleased to learn when I got to Thailand some 2 years ago is that Netflix works in Thailand. Does not require a special VPN. Does not require you to do anything fancy. You can just log into your regular old account wherever you happen to be from, Amy or whomever is listening to this, and your Netflix stuff will be there. Sort of. I have to preface it with sort of, because you will also find things that you can't find in your home country. There are I won't say a lot, but there's more than a few Thai television series and movies on that are only going to come up because it knows you are in Thailand. Netflix, as I understand it, has different regions, and they have to negotiate licensing rights that are country-based. And so there are some television shows which when you get to Thailand, that you were watching back in wherever you were from, that will not be available here. That's just the way
I hate that, man. Nothing pisses me off more than pulling up a video online or a TV show I want to watch or something, and it says, this is not available in your region. It's so stupid and counterproductive.
I'm with you. It's terrible. That will happen. I was in the middle of going through all of X-Men, the original series, and I got like halfway through season 3, and suddenly they're gone.
Boo!
Just suddenly they're gone. So
that's no good, man.
So that does it. But yeah, if you want to catch up on the TVs and the movies and see what's going on, Netflix works in Thailand. One of the things you just mentioned, Greg, is that occasionally you're trying to watch a video and it will say, sorry, the content is not available in your area. Or in my case, trying to use Netflix and it'll say, no, sorry, you can't watch the show you were just watching because you're no longer in your country. There is a way around, and it leads us into I'm going to skip one. I'm going to go to the final category, the special category, for a second. And that is if you get a VPN, a virtual private network. Like, for example, I recommend highly use ExpressVPN. There will be a link in our show notes, only because I'm an affiliate there. But it's an awesome program. ExpressVPN will let you, on your phone or on your computer, pretend to be somewhere you are not, which is helpful when you want to finish that series you're watching back in your home country. It's helpful when you want to watch that show that's on Comedy Central's YouTube page that they have put comment restriction or country restrictions around. And it's also helpful if you want to do things like look at the Daily Mail.
Right. Because Thailand's a country that imposes censorship over certain things and certain subjects. And without getting too deeply into that, there are ways to get around it. So I don't have a VPN on my phone because I don't really ever find the need to use one, but I do have one on my computer. I just have a Chrome extension called ZenMate, and it works great.
The great thing about ExpressVPN, I got it when I went to China because I needed something so I could access, the internet when I was in China. The great thing about ExpressVPN is if you are trying to access something through the VPN and it gives you problems, like for whatever reason you're trying to watch that television show for a service you paid for back in America. We're not trying to rip anybody off, but if that's what you've paid for, then you should have access to it. ExpressVPN thinks. If you let them know through a chat window on their little program that you are having difficult accessing the content, they will tell you how to get to it. They will tell you how to change your system, how to change your numbers, and exactly what ports to connect to. And it's all non-technical. They just simply use Los Angeles number 3, they will tell you, and boom, it will actually work. It is awesome. It is a wonderful way for non-technical people to use a VPN without terrifying themselves because they're suddenly too smart for their own britches.
Well, moving right into the next category, and that is Thai language. What do you have for this one?
So I put that last on the list, or actually it wasn't last previously, but now it's last because I don't know that Amy needs it so much because she was here previously and I saw her last name and I can't pronounce it. So it sounds like to me she's got a little Thai going on anyhow. But for the people that do not speak any of the Thai, like me over here, you might be tempted to use Google Translate.
Okay.
Resist that temptation. Google Translate's pretty terrible. It's not good for a lot of the things you're asking. It just gives you some rotten answers. In a pinch, will it do? Yeah, it certainly will. But if you really want to learn it and you really want to have it speak to you in a voice you can actually understand and you want people to get what you're saying, try an app it's just simply called Thai-English. And I'll put a link to it in the show notes as well. Thai English, it's free. It's a free app. You download it, and it's got a dictionary, and it's got lessons to help you learn Thai, as well as a good rundown of you type in a sound that you heard, and it does a pretty amazing job of figuring out what that sound was and what that means, both in Thai and gives you an English equivalent. It's really kind of a cool app.
I have that on my phone too. I'm just looking at it now. I haven't opened it in a while though, because I have an app called Thai Dict. Thaidict, all one word. And it was made actually by Ricker Dockham, who was our Thai linguist guest on the first season of the Bangkok Podcast. He assisted on it, I think, but it was branded originally by a lady named Benjoan Pumsan Becker, who's sort of a noted Thai translator linguist person. So it's a great app, and I use it all the time because not only can you look up words in English or Thai, you can also press a button and it will speak them for you. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times when you're reading the words, you get the tones wrong. And of course, if you get the tone wrong, Thai people often have no idea what you're talking about. So you just press the little speaker button and it says it perfectly for them. It's also really cool because you can touch on a Thai word and it will tell you what's in that Thai word. Like if a Thai word is made up of two phrases, it will tell you what each one is, what it means, and why they fit together. It also gives you things like colloquial versions, dirty words, formal versions of language and things like that. So it's a really detailed app, and I use it all the time. Like a while ago, I had to go to Home Pro to find a cement nail, and I don't even know how to begin to know how to say that. Right. So I just looked up cement and pressed the speaker button and then did the motioning action for a nail. So I got my cement nails. There you go.
Well, that'll work out.
But yeah, it's a great catch-all app, and I use it very regularly. I should mention it when I got it, it wasn't cheap. I think it was about 600 baht, which is about $20.
Oh wow!
But it's more than paid for itself in my time that I've had it.
Yeah. So try the free one of mine if you'd like to, but we'll put a link to the one that Greg mentioned as well, the Thai Dict, so you can see that as well. Hey, the last one that I had down. Do you have another one inside of Thai? Because I forgot one in special. I forgot one in special. I don't know how I forgot this one.
It's a special use category.
So, listener out there, you just heard Greg say 600 baht. And he and I didn't bat an eye. We know exactly how much that is. It's because we live here. And we're used to doing the conversion kind of in our head. In fact, we probably think in baht now than we have to think back in either U.S. or Canadian dollars.
I do.
But if you are not fully versed into that and you need to do the translation quickly, sure, you can look up the exact exchange rate and then pull your calculator and do some math. Or you could ask Google to do that. Or you could download and get the XE Currency app. It's free, which is a thing that I like, and it's a very handy way for you to convert very quickly a dollar amount from one currency, or a money amount, I should say, from one currency to up to 10 other ones. And it's connected to the exchange rate. So if you are here using your credit card, for example, for your bank, which is back in your home country, or if you happen to be traveling from America and you have a Charles Schwab card, oh my God, you need to get a Charles Schwab card if you're traveling to anywhere in the world. You'll know exactly how much you're paying without paying any additional fees and stuff because your bank will translate it. It's very cool. So you drop in that 600 baht. In fact, I will do it right now. Hang on. Let me just pull up
600 baht. How much is 600 baht worth?
8. 6 is 8. So let's see. What? No, that's not what I wanted to do.
Please stand by while old man Evo figures out how to use his app and reset the blinking clock on his VCR.
Flashing midnight. Why is it flashing midnight at me? And that it is worth 889 Filipino pesos.
Ooh.
It is worth 401,000 Vietnamese dong, 137 Hong Kong dollars, $23.33 Canadians, and $17.65 in the good old U.S. of A.
How much US dollars?
1765.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the functionality you just described for that app is exactly the same as my preferred currency app, which is simply called Currency. And much like you choose as many currencies as you would like,
Yep.
and you enter a number into any one of them, and it automatically converts it to all the other ones.
Right.
So I put a 600 Thai baht in, and the numbers you just read off, these were 1/100th of a cent different.
And
from yours,
I
so.
rounded up.
Okay,
Mine goes out to 4 decimal places on everything. Why in God's name it needs to go to 4 decimal places on Vietnamese dong? Why I need to know it's 401,000 for Vietnamese dong 0.0865. That means
Come
nothing.
on, don't tell me you never tried to change $1 million into Vietnamese dong. I mean, that makes up for it,
I want to see someone try and hand me a fraction of a dong. Yeah, and don't isolate that audio because that would mean nothing.
That's funny. That's funny.
You got another one?
No, I have one more, and of course it's a little bit of a plug, but I would like to mention the Voice Map app. And this is a really cool app that is made by a company out of South Africa. And they basically do GPS-guided audio walking tours in countries all over the world. Bangkok is one of them, and yours truly has 3 walking tours up on this app. So when you go to the Voice Map app, you buy tours for every city that you're going to, whether it's Cape Town or San Francisco or Bangkok or Tokyo or whatever. Locals who live there will put these walks together, and it's really slick. You put the headphone in your ear, you start the thing, and then in Bangkok, my voice would come on and say, all right, you're standing in front of this and this and this, walk this way. And then when you get to the predefined GPS coordinates, you'll hear like a bing, and my voice will come on and say, all right, now turn right, and you should be going down this street. And this street has a long history of blah, 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 blah. So that's a really cool way to sort of do some self-guided tours of Bangkok and many other cities around the world. So the Voice Map app is free, but you do have to buy city walking tours for the particular city you like, and they're not that expensive, a couple bucks each.
Sweet. That's a very good idea because there is a lot to see in this city. Amy, it's been 9 years. A lot has changed. Most of the restaurants you've eaten have gone out of business because it's tomorrow. That happens quite a lot here. So yeah, doing a little personal walking tour, especially one that with the dulcet sounds of Greg Jorgensen's voice behind it. Well, there you go, Amy, and other listeners. That's our list of preferred apps. I'm certain that many of you out there listening say, no, wait a minute, you forgot about... You know what? Tell us about it. Just go ahead and put comments. We'll tell you in a little bit how to do the company. But the show's not over. The show is not over. You know how I know that? And that is because we have not done my favorite part of the program, which is Love, Loathe, or Leave, where one of us springs something on the other, little aspect of living here in the Kingdom of Thailand and in Bangkok specifically, and finds out whether or not it's something that the other person loves about the city, something they loathe about the city, or something they hate so much that it's going to cause them to leave very, very quickly. Greg, it is your turn this week. What have you for me?
All right, picture it. You're walking down the street, minding your own business.
With your voice in my head.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Turn left here. And suddenly you hear, you. And you look around, and someone's trying to get your attention. Yeah. And that seems to be the only word that a lot of people in Thailand know is you.
Yeah.
And it's jarring. And what they want to say is, excuse me, sir. Maybe it's you dropped your wallet. Maybe it's you can't go that way. Maybe it's you want a sexy massage. I don't know. But a lot of people, when they see a foreigner, the first word that comes to mind is you. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, and it's usually you either for sexy massage or a tuk-tuk. 2 things I'm actually not looking for most days of the week. That's the standard way to do that. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of understand it in that they they are assuming I don't speak enough Thai. So if they were to say something to me in Thai, that I would know they were talking to me. And they're right, because I don't know enough to know the appropriate response,
How dare they assume correctly that I'm ignorant of the local language?
Right. So it's a little strange, because then, once someone has gotten my attention with simply the you over and over again, where exactly is the conversation going to go from there? Because if that's all they know, I guess they could point to the ground if I did drop my wallet. I guess they could point to the tuk-tuk, right?
Well, I mean, they whip out a picture of a sexy lady with a small bikini on. I mean, the intent is pretty clear.
Right. They could tell me that the Grand Palace is closed today. I'm sure all of those helpful things. But yeah, it's kind of annoying, but I get it. And I guess if I loathe something, it's I loathe the fact that they can't just get my attention in Thai in a way that I would be able to recognize they were talking to me. So it's my fault, not theirs.
Yeah, I feel the same way. At first, when you first hear it, it's a bit jarring and it might seem a bit rude, because if you said that in a Western country, that would be a very rude thing to say. But yeah, it's and a lot of people also, when they're calling someone in Thai, like if a Thai person is calling another Thai person they don't know, they might say kun 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 kun, which of course is you. Is the closest approximation of that translation. Sure. So in that regard, saying you is not so different from saying kun kun kun, which is perfectly acceptable in Thailand. But it does come off a little bit abrasive at first. But please keep in mind that it's not usually, anyway, it's usually not meant of anything more than a friendly greeting or a friendly please. Yeah. I want to ask you or tell you something.
Yeah, that'd be very uncharacteristics of the Thais to try to have their initial outreach to you being rude. That's not. I mean, it might turn that way. Don't get us wrong, but definitely not part of their culture to say, "Hey, dickhead." Right? That's just not going to happen. Really not the case. Yeah. But I have a question for you, since you speak much more Thai than I do. When you want to get the attention of one of the wait staff in a restaurant, what two words do you utter to get their attention?
I usually don't say anything. I just stand up and tip the table over, and everyone looks at me, and I can't not have attention. No, you wave, and you don't put your palm up and wave like that. You put your palm down and bring your fingers towards you. But if you want to say a phrase, I usually just say "kotot, kotot, kotot,"
which is excuse me, right? Which is
kotot. Yeah. You might also say nong 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 nong.
Yeah.
Which means like junior or young person, but it's also sort of used as a catch-all phrase for an assistant.
Okay, so I was wondering about that, because what I hear people saying is nong kap, which is a polite way to say assistant, you younger person, right?
Yeah, like nong kap, nong kap, nong kap. Yeah.
Ah, I got it now. Now it makes sense. So, but of course, they're not going to say that to me walking down the sidewalk. They're going to say, "Hey, old man." So that's a very different
you, old man.
Yeah, right. Where you go? That's the other one you get a lot. Tuk tuk? Yes. Thank you. All right. Well, now I understand that one. So thanks. Well, and there goes the love, loathe, or leave. And so one thing though, Greg, because we now are wrapping up on the program. How are we doing lengthwise? Did we go long again? God. We went long again.
Yeah, we did. 40 minutes right now.
Before we go, I have a confession to make. All
right.
So the video that we shot for Patreon came out great. Now, if you're listening to the show, you haven't seen it yet. We launched the Patreon page without a video, which is a major no-no. But because a pox be upon Greg's home right now, every attempt we have had to shoot the video before this has gone sour. So he came over just a day or so ago, and we sat down and we had my lovely wife Sheila work the camera. We got the microphone out, we plugged it in, we rehearsed the script, and the video, man, came out amazingly good. Amazingly good.
There's got to be a button here.
The audio sucks.
Oh,
we didn't test the audio. And so it is over-modulated like this the entire time, and it's really a little difficult to understand what we're saying.
Can we dub it so it maybe 3 seconds off our mouth movement so we look like an old kung fu movie?
We could do that, and that's kind of what I was thinking of doing, is we get somebody else who's like a Thai native speaker, but we'll give them the words to then reread again. in English, I think that would be highly, especially if we get two young chicks to do it, would be even better.
No, lovely. So the video won't work, so we got to shoot it again.
We got to shoot it again. I am so sorry, man. I suck.
Well, we'll get that up on the Patreon page pretty soon, and then you can have the full package of what we're doing here and realize why Evo and I have faces for radio. Well, everyone, thanks for listening to the Bangkok Podcast this week. If you have anything you'd like to share or a topic you'd like to hear us talk about on a future show, just like Amy did, leave a comment on bangkokpodcast.com, or you can reach out directly to me on Twitter, where I am BKK Greg.
Or you can send us a message either on Facebook or on Twitter at Bangkok Podcast. And as mentioned, we do have a Line account that is growing. You'll have to go to the show notes to get the Line account, because as cool and awesome as it is, it's not easy to share, especially company Line accounts that have less than 100 people that are following them. Regardless, go to thebangkokpodcast.com and just go to the show notes and you'll see a link to our Line account. For Greg Jorgensen, I am Evo Terra. We shall be back here next week with more stories of our lives lived in Bangkok right here on the Bangkok Podcast. Cheers. I want to see someone try and hand me a fraction of a dong.